ẹgbẹ́ rẹ̀ yọ ká mú un láti ibi níní àkóso àwọn ọ̀jìnmí tó ti ṣe takuntakun nígbìmọ̀ alákòóso nípìnlẹ̀ Èkó tọ́jẹ́ pọ́rọ̀ ajé rẹ̀ ló tóbi jùlọ nílẹ̀ Áfíríkà láì tí ìlàláfiwé rẹ̀ nínú ìtàn. Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu ńláláṣeyọrí ẹ̀dá náà olóṣèlú tiwantiwa ni aláfojúsùn àtàsíwájú ẹ̀dá tó ń yígbà padà sí rere ni. Dìbò rẹ̀ fẹ́ ni ọ̀rọ̀ òṣìṣẹ́ yéyéké tó sì tún lè sọ ọ́ dayọ̀ bí a ṣe lè pawó wọlé lábẹ́nú ètò ààbò àtúntò àtúnṣe ètò ìdájọ́ àgbéga ètò ẹ̀kọ́ fún dàgbàsókè ohun amúlùdún àti ìṣèjọba lọ́nà tòde òní. Bọ́bá dọdún 2023 dìbò rẹ fún Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu gẹ́gẹ́ bí ààrẹ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Ẹgbẹ́ Asiwaju Volunteers torílẹ̀-èdè Canada ló ń kéde.
Wherever it is that you are listening from, in Nigeria, it is 6 minutes gone past 7. Welcome to this very important community dialogue. It is the Asiwaju Community Dialogue in conjunction with Asiwaju Radio and the BOT Initiative Vanguard. And today we will be having a very important discussion with two people. But before we move forward, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Jumoke Faminu. I'll be your host for this evening, but I wouldn't be here alone. I will be joined during the course of this conversation with Kemkem, a popular on-air personality here in Nigeria. But before I introduce the guest for this evening, today's topic for the dialogue is Asiwaju's renewed
tare da mulkin demokradiyya na shekara 23 ba tare da
Hello, can you hear me?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, we're going to go live now. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
From the globe, this is the Asiwaju Community Dialogue, coming to you live on Asiwaju Radio and the BAT Vanguard. Today we will
be kuma jagora ne wanda shi ya kai jam'iyyarsa ga nasara shi kadai tilo.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu shi kadai ne ya daidaita kyakkyawan halakar 'yan Najeriya. Tsintsiya daya madaurinki daya wajen hidimtawa talakawa.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu shi kadai ne kwalli ɗaya tak a 'yan siyasar Najeriya da duk wani ɗan siyasa yake ƙoƙarin koyi da siyasa irin tashi. Burinsa kullum ga talakan Najeriya ya samu ingantaccen rayuwa a ƙasar mu Najeriya.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu
cikakken shugaba ne, don ko ba kowane shugaba ne yake zama cikakken shugaba ba. Tsoron Allah da gaskiya da rikon amana da kuma kyautatawa, wa'annan su ne halayya na cikakken shugaba.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu wani abin ƙarfafa zuciya. Bola Ahmed Tinubu ya amsa sunan cikakken shugaba.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu
kun ga jiya kun ga yau, don haka Allah ya ba ku idan ganin gobe. Cancantanka ka zama shugabanmu a cikin wannan ƙasa Najeriya.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu
daga cikin duhu Allah maɗaukakin sarki ke fitar da haske, kamar yadda a cikin mutane Allah ke fito da shugaba na gari. Shi ne wanda zai kai Najeriya ga nasara.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu
hanya ɗaya mafitar mu guda ce. Ya ku 'yan Najeriya, ga mafitar mu nan. Bola Ahmed Tinubu a shekara ta 2023 ƙuri'inmu Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
A very good evening to you, and we must here today to discuss on all those issues and how the APC manifesto, of course, is going to usher in the new dawn for Nigeria. We have today on the Asiwaju Community Dialogue, which is a conjunction put together by Asiwaju Radio and the BAT Vanguard. Now, this is coming to you on the platform with Unity Radio. And just a bit to give you a little tidbit on Unity Radio, because they are backing us up on this venture. It is a station that serves as a unifying factor and a tool for peace and development in Plateau State, the north central geopolitical zone of Nigeria. Our signal is being received across Plateau State and parts of Bauchi, Kaduna, Kano, Nasarawa, and Gombe. From all the states that we have reeled out. Today, to have this discussion, and of course, which has the title that we'll be talking about today, which is Asiwaju's Renewed Hope, Hope for the Youth. My name is Jumoke Faminu, and I will not be doing this alone. I will be joined during the course of the program by Kem, a popular OAP here in Nigeria. But then let me quickly introduce our guest because of our time. And then, of course, we go straight into the discuss for today. We have on the panel today discussing with us Mr. Festus Keyamo, SAN. He is the Director of Public Affairs and Chief Spokesperson, Tinubu Shatima Presidential Campaign Council. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good evening, all, everyone. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. Discuss as we go on, and once she's linked in, we would of course introduce her. Mr. Festus Keyamo, I will start with you while we wait on Risola, and I would like to start with the data that has been released by INEC. Now, according to INEC, in the newly registered voters, over 10 million voters are new, which makes a total of 93 million voters eligible to take part in next year's 2023 elections. Of these statistics, according to INEC, 76% are youth, the youth population between the ages of 18 and 34, while 50.82% are women, which make up about 4.8 million of the newly registered voters. And of the newly registered voters, 1.5 million of those women are housewives. But let me come to you. Over 6 million new voters, of which the 6 million are the youth population. Speculations are rife that the youth may be the deciding factor for next year's general elections. Are you of this mindset that the youth will be the deciding factor in the 2023 general elections?
Well, thank you very much. I also went through that data released by INEC. And what I discovered is that the youth, and of course the women, they will play a significant role in the elections. Using the phrase, the deciding factor, may be too far-fetched, because we have, other demographic, calculations there too. But they will play a significant role. There is no doubt about that. And luckily for us and for my party, we have always given very prime attention and the pride of place to women and to the youths within my party. So we are confident that that demography will also tilt in our favor.
Thank you very much. All right, and joining us right now is Risola Abiola. She is a member of the Tinubu Shatima Women Presidential Campaign Team. Good evening to you, Risola, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. It's a great thing to be here today.
Okay, Risola, this question is going to go to you. Now, we have 1.5 million newly registered housewives who are going to be partaking in next year's election. The APC manifesto has been made public. According to data available to us, in Nigeria presently, 43% of businesses in Nigeria are owned by women. How will the APC manifesto push women into the limelight and, of course, help them with their businesses?
So, if we've gone through the manifesto, we'll see that women's empowerment has a chapter dedicated to it. And under that, we have the social inclusion, political empowerment, economic empowerment, also looking at legal protections for women, fighting domestic violence, helping the most disadvantaged, educational parity. You can see that this is a very well thought out document and that there's something in it for everybody, especially for women. The APC as a party recognizes that women form pretty much half of our population, and to achieve our full potential as a country, then it's very key that we empower our women. And even the existence of a women's wing of a presidential campaign already lends credence to the fact that in our party we're progressive and we're all about promoting our women, giving them a platform, ensuring that women have a voice, and we believe that women are equal partners in our democratic journey. As you rightly noted, Nigerian women are very entrepreneurial. There are studies that suggest that Nigeria has the highest number of women business owners in the world. And this is something that we recognize. And that's why we're looking at removing the hindrances in, the pathway to economic empowerment, to financial inclusion, to financial empowerment for our women by prioritizing policies that will ensure that they have the support that they need and that they have an enabling environment to thrive and to grow. So from the home, dismantling the factors that enable things like domestic violence, that enable the suppression and oppression of women, to ensuring that they have the key factors that they need to thrive in their businesses, to close the gap in the discrepancy in educational attainment levels between our men and our women, to ensure our women stay in school, to ensure that those who are most disadvantaged are able to get the kind of help that they need. And this is something the APC government has already started doing. For those of us who also have a background in social work and civil society, we understand that poverty is a major issue, but it is also gendered in that it affects women disproportionately. And one thing we've already started as a party is the social safety net, the support that the most disadvantaged, the most vulnerable get in society. So that just really goes to show that we're not just putting this in our manifesto because it is fashionable to talk about women's empowerment or to talk about uplifting the most vulnerable in the society. It is something the APC has always done and will continue to walk the talk in this regard.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Festus Keyamo, this will be coming to you. Now, the APC manifesto is Renewed Hope 2023, Action Plan for a Better Nigeria. One of the key factors that was noted by the World Bank, released April 25th of this year, Nigeria ranks currently 131 out of 190 in the Ease of Doing Business platform. And according to the World Bank, this came about because of the collapse of MSMEs in the country. The youth population actually has 67% of youth entrepreneurs, especially in startups in Nigeria. Finance has been seen as the greatest impediment of businesses in Nigeria. How does the APC manifesto of Action Plan for a Better Nigeria, how will it include the youth to get them access to finances that MSMEs may be able to pick up and, of course, grow faster in Nigeria?
Well, thank you. There has been a lot of attention by this government in terms of the ease of doing business. And that is why we have moved up significantly in the world ranking in terms of the ease of doing business. Some of the components of this have been, for example, visa on arrival for businessmen. And so the impediment of visa, the rigors of getting visas abroad before you come into Nigeria have been virtually reduced, that kind of rigor. So you can have business on arrival. You can have visa on arrival. You can also have a one-stop shop in terms of all the processes you have to go through to register a business. So in those days where you all have to come to Abuja to go through all the process of registration, getting a business name or a company's name, and on tax returns and all of that, what the government did was to take it down to the different states of the federation, and not only taking down to different states of the federation, they opened one building in most of the state capitals where you have business registration and all the process you have to go through to form a business in one building. They call it a one-stop shop. And so it was easier, for people to then go register their small businesses, get their business and open accounts, and then begin to run their businesses. So all of that, there's so many components in that ease of doing business package. And because of that, Nigeria shot up significantly in the ease of doing business. Now, if you look at the preamble of this document, you can see that Asiwaju is actually tied to the umbilical cord of this government. He's not divorcing himself entirely. There's a paragraph there that he used the word advisedly, that he will stand on what has been built by the Buhari administration in areas where they have made significant improvement. And that is actually one of the areas, ease of doing business. Standing on that platform, he will then take it to the next level. If you look at this document, there's a component there that talks about social reform, social programs, where a lot of empowerment will be given to small people who are down the rung of the social ladder. And of course, there's also a component known as youth empowerment and entrepreneurship. Under that, you have so many components of that head, where they talked about making sure that they give them starter packs, easy access to credit, mentorship for these young ones when they want to start businesses, because most times when our young ones come out of school, they're actually lost in the world of business. They're lost. So they also need mentorship, a bit of mentorship before they start these small businesses. So the fact that this document actually pays attention to that part of our economic development is very, very significant, because you see, it is the small, medium, and scale businesses and entrepreneurs that actually are the basis upon which we can reduce the unemployment rate in Nigeria. The employment, for me, as a Minister of Labor, we have since identified the fact that if you don't pay attention to the macro, small, and medium scale enterprises, then you are not ready, to generate employment. So it is this type of businesses, this type of small and medium, scale entrepreneurs or enterprises that government can use to, ramp up the, level of employment in Nigeria. So it is very, very significant that we have this portion addressed, very well in this document.
All right, Mr. Festus Keyamo, I'll still stick with you a little bit, because our listener would like to understand really the empowerment. Now, I know on the federal level, even especially during the COVID, there were the loans that were given to enterprises all over the country for those who applied, and they were able to access funds. But sometimes when we hear empowerment for the youth, unfortunately, we see some things that are quite strange. Empowerment that comes with maybe some goats, rope, and some other things. And the youth at this time are trying to really get access into how they can tap into it. Can you be just a little bit specific in just 2 minutes to just give us some of the plans that are on ground that youth may have access? And then we'll go to another aspect, which is exactly agriculture. But then can you just give us 1 or 2 plans on how the youth can really access funds?
Thank you very much. First of all, the post-COVID plan of the federal government was a total package of about 2.1 trillion. It's a total package. And that package went into different sectors in order to jumpstart the economy after the shutdown, the unfortunate shutdown we had as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, part of that went to either loans or outright cash gifts to businessmen, young, especially the small businesses across the country. I'll tell you a few of these, like you requested, and then go ahead to tell you what Asiwaju also intends to do. First of all, there was a package under my own ministry where we had to give about 60,000 naira to very, very poor people, the very poor at the local level, just to put cash in their pockets. Now, let me put this in a context. If you remember, after the COVID-19 lockdowns all over Europe and America, they were delivering cash gifts to their citizens at their doorsteps. And I'm sure you saw a lot of, images like that across the world, where in America and Europe, because they needed to stop or to, checkmate any kind of social revolution, people were frustrated, they lost their jobs, they were at home, they couldn't work. And so government had to rush cash to them, cash in America and Europe. They were delivering cash to them. Sometimes even as much as 2,500 euros, 2,000 euros, and all of that. Now, so those were very advanced countries. People criticized, now people began to criticize our own when we decided to give 60,000 naira out. Now, even the 60,000 we gave out for 3 months, we decided to tie it into some kind of social work. We just said, okay, just go and clear some grass around your area, do some work, clear some gutters, do environmental sanitation, and a bit of social work, and then you'll be given. So we tied down to some kind of small work so that people will not think that, just money is just that free. It's our own, climb. We did that in our own climb. And then people criticized it, that why were we just wasting money like that on the masses? I mean, we're talking of 1,000 persons per local government. That was huge around the whole country. I supervised that program. And so, we'll go to the details later, how we insisted they open accounts. And so we have the account numbers of everybody. We made sure we pay them through accounts and BVN, no cash transfer, no cash payment. So, but then that is just one small component of the whole package. But it's just to tell you that we quickly try to get monies and cash to the hands of the very poor who were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. There were many other programs like that. They were locked under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, social social intervention, my sister's ministry. So there were a lot of it like that, all totaling 2.1 trillion. Then, coming to what you asked, there was also a component of that within the CBN where they had to give loans out to those who wanted to do farming, and loans for small businesses affected by COVID and all that. All of those packages were under the CBN. So you can see that there was a response. There was actually a package that was a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, there's also a significant loan program under the CBN that is given to especially rice farmers. That was the kind of attention that Buhari gave at the time when he came in to rice production. He just wanted us to be self-sufficient in rice production, especially in paddy production. So there was a specific program under the CBN that gave that kind of loan to rice farmers. And a lot of rice farmers across the country gained from that program. In fact, that is what ramped up the production of rice across the entire country. Now, so you can see that this government itself paid very close attention to that. Now, for the Asiwaju's plan, he also now talked about easy access to credit. And then guess what? He talked about working with the CBN again to develop suitable incentives to encourage commercial banks to target low-cost loans towards a given quarter of youth-led enterprises. That is the target. So the Asiwaju government wants to work with the CBN to work with the commercial banks, and then we can bring down credit. We can bring down interest to single digits. It's like a special incentive, special package targeting youth-led enterprises in particular, to ensure that they get easy access to credit, so that they are not open to the vagaries of the world of loans, where you can have at times double-digit interest and the big businesses and the type of loans they seek. So this may range from anything like 500,000 to 200,000 to 5 million. And we have those type of programs now too, where the NDE gives out those kind of loans to women to set up small businesses. We have all that available now, but Asiwaju's plan, his action plan, contains this also.
All right, thank you so much for that. Rinsola, all right, please, this will be for you, and it's about agriculture. Of course, we've already talked about the statistics of women, and we do know that lots of women and the youth population are involved in agriculture in Nigeria. Unfortunately, this year, Nigeria did go through a very bad natural disaster, which was the flooding that affected over 33 states out of 36 states in the country. Presently, we would like you to now just talk for the next couple of minutes, agriculture and the plans of the manifesto for the women and the youth to be from what was lost this year, and of course to be able to move forward in next year. What does the manifesto have in plan for agriculture to push the women and the youth population?
Okay. So agriculture also has a dedicated chapter in our manifesto, and I think that's very key because we're an all-producing nation, but agriculture has always contributed immensely to Nigeria's GDP and to employment and to opportunities for women, for young people, and for men as well. This year has been really quite sad in terms of the natural disaster that we seem to be grappling with on a nationwide scale. And incidentally, in previous seasons, we suffered famine essentially because rainfall was not sufficient to have produce. I remember about a year or two ago, there was a discussion regarding farmers, especially in the Southwest, not turning out enough produce because they hadn't recorded rainfall in significant amounts, and that had negatively impacted the projections for the harvest and also impacted the prices of commodities in the market. And one of the things that really struck me while I was going through our manifesto initially was the plan that's included, under agriculture for irrigation, because that's actually something that we need on a large scale in our farms. We'll find that we mostly have smallholder farms, and that kind of affects how agriculture is practiced. We're not doing as much as we ought to. At the moment, we also have a very small fraction of arable land being cultivated. And another area where the government intends to step in is to ensure that we clear land on a large scale to enable farming to take place more sustainably and on a much larger scale, partnering with the private sector, of course, attracting investors in this regard. Regarding the flooding specifically, I also saw the issue of grain reserves, ensuring that we were able to better stock up on produce, basic staples, so that in cases where there's a shortfall in production, in the harvest, where we're able to sustain supply and ensure that the people are able to access the volume of food and staples that they need. And then, of course, there's also the point regarding ensuring that farmers have access to credit, and then commodity boards, which will ensure that a minimum amount of revenue is generated by our farmers. So these are all very good plans that we have. Access to finance will be done in conjunction with the Bank of Agriculture to ensure that they're better able to serve all those who require access to funding to make their farming ventures a lot more profitable, a lot more sustainable. Farming should not be likened to poverty. And another thing, especially in this regard, is President Buhari, the current administration, has also been very particular about empowering our farmers. Rice production, for instance, has gone up significantly. It has reduced our reliance on importation, for instance. So this is, again, the APC government has shown good faith when it comes to dealing with farmers, when it comes to prioritizing issues regarding agriculture. And that actually gives us a degree of confidence, even without the manifesto, that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if elected, God willing, in 2023, will sustain achievements recorded in this area by ensuring that farmers' needs are prioritized, by ensuring that we are able to put more money in the pockets of those who provide food for us as a country. And then, of course, looking at expanding how much it is that we're able to export. If we're able to meet the demand at home, we will be reducing the reliance on foods that have to be imported. We've been able to do it with rice. There's a very large possibility that we'll be able to do it with other things as well. And with adequate funding, our farmers will also be better able to explore other areas, along the agricultural value chain, as opposed to just producing and selling directly. They will also be able to process, and that will greatly increase how much they're able to earn. And then, of course, infrastructure is very key. I'm very particular about rural development, and I know that one of the major factors that limits the potential of our farmers, especially when it comes to their earning power, is the infrastructural deficits in our rural in the rural areas where all the farming takes place. Infrastructural development will be prioritized, and this will also shorten the time between when produce is harvested and when it gets to the market, and make life easier for those of our people at the rural areas, encourage more people to stay back home and work the farms. And the amount of investment that I foresee actually coming in into our agricultural sector is also going to help a great deal with women, with young people, with farmers generally, and making agriculture a lot more attractive than it is even now. Although I know quite a number of young people have gone back to the farm in line with the charge from President Muhammadu Buhari, and they're reaping really good rewards from being involved in the agricultural sector.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We'll take a quick break. And when we come back, of course, the discussion continues. Don't go anywhere. This is still Asiwaju Radio.
Imagine a transformed Nigeria. Imagine a decentralized democracy. Imagine an industrial base with sufficient jobs. Imagine an agricultural base with food security. Imagine a decent livelihood. Imagine justice, peace, prosperity for all. Nigeria for Nigerians. Imagine Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria 2023, a progressive leader, a freedom fighter, a nation builder. Asiwaju knew. The difference is clear. Asiwaju is here. This message is brought to you by BAT Vanguard, Bola Ahmed Tinubu Vanguard 2023. Bola Ahmed Tinubu for president. Support Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria 2023.
Tare da mulkin demokradiyya na shekara 23 ba tare da karyawa ba da kuma shugabanni guda 4 a jere, kasar da tafi kowace kasar yawan jama'a Afirka ta sake kan hanya don neman shugaba na gaskiya. Irin wannan lokacin a tarihin al'ummar mu yana kira ga wani shugaban kasa mai hangen nesa, hasika dan siyasa, mai tunani, mai aikatarwa, kuma jajirtaccen jagora mai dimbin tarihin aiwatarwa. Mutum ɗaya yayi fice a cikin sauran, tare da rakwadi ba wanda zai iya yin takara da shi. Daga haɗawa da za iya cewa mafi yawan majalisar ministocin Najeriya a tarihin Najeriya zuwa jagorancin ɗaya daga cikin manyan tattalin arzikin Afirka, Bola Ahmed Tinubu mutum ne mai cin nasara, mai bin tafarkin demokratiya, mai hangen nesa, kuma jagora mai neman sauyi. Zaɓi wanda ya zamanto mai hankali a cikin gyare-gyare ma'aikatan gwamnati, kudaden shiga na cikin gida, gine-gine, tsaro, tsake fasalin ƙasa, gyare-gyaren shari'a, inganta tsarin ilimi, ci gaban ababen more rayuwa da gudanar da mulki na zamani. A shekara 2023 ku goyi bayan tiketin Tinubu Shatima, ku zaɓi Bola Ahmed Tinubu a matsayin shugaban tarayyar Najeriya. Ƙungiyar Asiwaju Volunteer Group na Canada ce ta kawo muku wannan tsakon.
You're welcome back, and this is still the Community Forum. on the platform of Asiwaju Radio in conjunction with the Bat Vanguard and Unity FM Jokes. We are still live and we still have our guest here in the studios with us. We have Mr. Festus Keyamo, SAN, Director of Public Affairs and Chief Spokesperson, the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council, and Risola Abiola, member of the Tinubu Shetima Women Presidential Campaign Team. Now, Mr. Festus Keyamo, this will be coming to you. In the manifesto, it has been said that there will be a phasing out of oil subsidy. Now, we know this is a major yardstick because it is going to affect businesses all over Nigeria. Still going with the former statistics that we started off with, 67% youth entrepreneurs in Nigeria. There is no way if we do this that their businesses will not be affected. How does the manifesto say it's going to cushion the effect, aside the access to finances that you just spoke about? How does the manifesto say it's going to cushion the effect for young people who have businesses who will be affected once subsidy is finally removed? Please let me make it known, majority on this platform do want oil subsidy to go. All right, so let's have your views on that. How does the manifesto intend to push the youth business once oil subsidy is phased out?
Well, thank you. This is a very thorny issue. And I know what I have seen in the last 3.5 years as Minister of Labour, where we have had to interact with labor, unions on a number of occasions where we try to either remove subsidy or adjust the price of petroleum products. But let me give a background to this so that people should understand the reason behind this. As it is today, we spend close to 300 billion naira monthly. I'm not talking about yearly, monthly. Let that sink in, to subsidize petroleum products, especially PMS. Now, that's a huge hole in our public purse. As it is today, NNPC is no longer making profits because everything they make goes to subsidy. And so to run businesses and to run government has to look at FIROS, customs, and all to raise money to even run government. That's how bad it is. Now, other presidential, candidates, I don't want to talk too much about them here, but just to show that there's an agreement between all the parties. There's no presidential candidate that can come and look at Nigerians in their faces on television now and say he will not remove subsidy. They will ask him, where are we going to get the money from? Because before you diversify the economy to the extent that we can be really, really self-sufficient outside our mono economy, which is oil, you have to find a way, to make it profitable, for us to sell our oil and use it to develop our economy. Now, coming to your question, that's just the background to it. Therefore, it is no longer sustainable as it is today. It is no longer, the PIB even says so. The way the PIB has structured NNPC, it has to be run for profit. And so if it's run for profit, NNPC is no longer under government control in the way that government will now use, will now dictate how it uses its finances, to subsidize, products here and there. But as it is today, it appears that government has said, well, let us suspend it to June next year. That's a decision we took in cabinet. As part of cabinet, I was part of that decision, that we should suspend it to next year, June, so that we can use between now and then to begin to put measures in place to cushion the effect on the masses. Now, that's coming to answer your question now. Because between now and then, one of those measures that we want to take is to ensure that we, migrate from petroleum, from cars and automobile using only petrol in Nigeria to gas. And the price of gas is far cheaper than PMS if we can migrate to gas. Many other countries have migrated to gas already. So if we have the consumers having an option to, even you can even change your existing car, change the mechanism in your existing car so that you can begin to use gas. So you don't have to even buy a new car. There'll be a lot of, avenues for you to change your engine to a gas engine. Now, so therefore, that is one of the ways that government wants, one of the measures government wants to put in place, and so many others. Now, when you talk about financing small businesses, where will the money come from? It's actually a vicious circle. We talked about it earlier, that government is going to ensure that small businesses have access to loans. Even if government has to subsidize those loans with the banks, the commercial banks, the government has to work with the CBN and commercial banks. You see, there's nothing is free in the world, even in Freetown. In Freetown, nothing is free. Somebody has to take the responsibility, has to take the burden anytime you are trying to either give out loans at a very low rate, or you are trying to subsidize anything at all in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. Somebody somewhere is bearing the burden. And so for government to bear that burden, government needs to get funds. So it is therefore in the interest of labor, and this is a very good opportunity for me to perhaps address labor, that even the party they are supporting now, which is the Labour Party, the candidate of the Labour Party says his priority is to remove petroleum, subsidy, and also Atiku Abubakar PDP. Now, if Labour is supporting a candidate that says he will remove subsidy, therefore, Labour will have no moral rights, therefore, to begin to oppose another candidate if he wins. If another candidate then wins and says he wants to remove subsidy, Labour will have no moral right to now say, we want to oppose you, because you actually supported a candidate that said he wanted to remove subsidy. Therefore, we want to appeal to Labour that for these small businesses to thrive, it is actually removal of subsidy that will make the small businesses thrive, not the maintenance of subsidy. It appears strange, right? But that is the truth. Why am I saying so? Because these small businesses need credit to survive. And for government to have credit to give to them, government needs to get funds. Government needs to free itself of the burden of subsidy. So removal of subsidy will actually create more jobs. And I want Labour to understand that. Because, for instance, left to me, if you free up 300 billion naira monthly, if you free it up from our public expenses, the first thing I will do and advise government to do, even though we have not gone down to these nitty-gritties here in this document, is to say, look, now that we have this fund available, can we plough in 150 billion monthly to clear infrastructural developments, so that this money does not go back to the bureaucracy again, where people will use it to fly abroad, ESTA codes for public officers and all those blah, 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 buy forecasts for one minister and all those nonsense. We have to use it to plug our infrastructural deficit, because we now know that there's fund available somewhere that we did not have before. And if you know that was what Abacha did during the PTTF day, managed by the same Buhari, it was the same petroleum subsidy they removed at that time. They got extra money for it, and then they now used it to develop a lot of infrastructure across the country. So, to answer your question straight away, and in a straightforward manner, please, with the way I've explained it, and to also let Labour understand too, is that it is the removal of subsidy that will actually sustain small businesses and create more jobs.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, Risola, sorry. You just have 5 minutes because our time is so far spent and we really need to wrap up on some things. I would like you to talk about power, provision of power to move the economy according to that which has already been put into the manifesto, power to move the economy. You have 5 minutes.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly. The line seems to be buffering on my end.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It's still breaking. Hello, can you hear me now? I can hear you perfectly clear. Can you hear me now?
I can make out. I think so, yes. Right.
Okay. I was asking the manifesto with regards to power generation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Let me just take that question so that we don't.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Festus Keyamo. All right.
First of all, let me tell you the foundation upon which this government, that Asiwaju's government, if by God's grace he wins, will build upon. As it is today, the type of infrastructure that this government is building in the power sector, that is the infrastructure that the next government will use to take off. As I speak with you, ongoing right now is the building of hydro, projects that will bring in 4,000 megawatts to the, national grid, and the Kashimbila hydro project, and Zungeru, and a few others are coming up now. That will already add 4,000 to the existing, infrastructure we have. When that comes up, it's going to ramp up our actual production megawatt to 12,000, because as it is today, we brought in KPMG to audit our power sector. And what did KPMG find out? KPMG found out that we are actually producing 8,000 megawatts. And most of these 8,000 megawatts came in the last 7 years. We ramped up because, the last government left megawatts about 4,000, 3 to 4,000. But we now have 8,000. It's only 4,000 that the off-takers are taking every day. The consumption is about 4,000 megawatts. But what is available is actually 8,000 megawatts. And then the installed capacity is not even 8,000. KPMG found out that the installed capacity is up to about 18,000. But we cannot maximize the installed capacity as it is today. So it is very, very significant, therefore, when Asiwaju now says he will, improve on the power sector. It is something to believe, because the foundation has been laid already. Most of what people are complaining today, there's no light. It's like you are building a big house. When the foundation is coming up, you will know that a lot has been done with the foundation. It is when you begin to raise the blocks, you know that, oh yes, there's a lot of work that has gone on in this regard. So Asiwaju's plan, therefore, takes off from where the Buhari administration will stop. That plan talks about making sure therefore, that they support the domestic manufacturing of electric meters. We are doing that right now. We have about 42 companies that are producing meters locally, but we're going to expand that, so that metering is one of the major problems we're having in the power sector, so that the people who come to invest in the power sector can actually get the returns for their investment. Because without metering, you cannot attract foreign investors to come and invest, so that they can get the right pricing for the power that they give out to the public.
Mr. Festus here. All right. Yes. So sorry to interrupt your flow there. All right, but for just 2 minutes, because of our time, I'd like Risola to please talk about digital economy and, of course, on gender. I apologize, it's really short, but then let's have your take on that. Hello, Risola. Oh, she seems okay. All right. I think our connection is having issues there. All right, Mr. Festus Keyamo.
Let me just talk quickly about that.
Okay, all right.
It's also blank. We talk about, what is the thrust of digital economy right now is to ensure that we have a lot of broadband penetration across the country. It's called, the Asiwaju's plan is called the National Broadband Plan. It's to ensure that we deliver service to about 90% of our populace by the year 2026. Because the key to opening up the country and making sure everybody is connected one way or the other is to ensure that there's broadband penetration. Right now, we have done a lot in that regard. From the time we took over to now, it has increased significantly. I don't get the right figures there. I should have supplied the right figures, but it's something, in the region of about 40-something thousand, 43%, or to about 50% penetration we have across the entire country right now, if I get my statistics right, but I can cross-check. But we have done a lot in that regard. But Asiwaju is taking up, his plan is to say by 2026 we have 90% penetration, and that is huge. And that means you'll bring a lot of the rural areas into the, the national broadband plan.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Festus Keyamo. Because of our time, we still have some other things to take. All right, Risola, you're back. Can you just, in 1 minute, our time is so fast spent. Can you just, in 1 minute, talk about gender? Just 1 minute.
Okay, so for me, I think it's really a no-brainer, really. When we look at the track records of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Kashim Shettima, when it comes to empowering women, mentoring women, uplifting women, both politically, if you look at both perspectively, you'll see that these are people who have prioritized women, who believe in women as equal citizens, and who believe in truly empowering women. So I think the choice for Nigerian women should be a no-brainer. And I've said it before, it's an open challenge to all the other candidates and their supporters to come forward and tell us what they've done. Actually is that a certain percentage, not less than 35%, will be ceded to women when it comes to representation. And I believe he's the first candidate to have actually acknowledged
it seems the network from Risola's place is okay. It's gone off again. All right, Risola, thank you so much for that. Because of our time, yes, because of our time, we have to go. But would like to say thank you so much to our guest. Risola Abiola is a member of the Tinubu Shetima Women Presidential Campaign Team. Thank you for joining us this evening on the program. We'd also like to express our sincere thanks to the Minister of State for Labor and Productivity, who is also the Director of Public Affairs and Chief Spokesperson, Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council, Mr. Festus Keyamo, SAN. Thank you so much for speaking with us this evening.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And just before you go, sir, I have a message for you here from the Asiwaju radio, and they say, please, your podcast, we need to air it on Asiwaju radio. So please, at the end of this program, we'll be getting in touch with you so we can have all the audios of your podcast, and then we can always broadcast it on the station.
All for Asiwaju, I'll give you all the editions we have done so far. And all the copyrights given to Asiwaju Radio, it's all for Asiwaju. No copyright fees will be taken. Play it as you like.
Thank you so much. We sincerely appreciate that. Okay, I have to go. Sincere apologies from my friend and also co-host who was here, but then of course she joined in quite late. To Kem, thank you so much for being a part of this. To the producers of the program, thank you so much. Femi and all the crew, thank you for being there at the background, ensuring everything goes well. Do not forget that this is coming to you on the sponsorship of the Bat Vanguard and Asiwaju Radio in conjunction with Unity FM in Jos, Plateau State. My name is Jumoke Faminu saying thank you and see you next time.